Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hope you're doing well. If you know anything about abusive language, abusive talk, you'll recognize one of the quick go-to, often used phrases within the Trump administration. It's a phrase that simply says, "It's a privilege and not a right." Here's what the White House press office said about removing access for the Associated Press to be able to interview the president in the Oval Office. As we have said from the beginning, asking the President of the United States questions in the Oval Office and aboard Air Force One is a privilege granted to journalists, not a legal right. We stand by our decision to hold the fake news accountable for their lies, and President Trump will continue to grant an unprecedented level of access to the press. This is the most transparent administration in history, quote unquote. And then hear this. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, talking to Fox Entertainment, Fox News, about visas for foreign students in U.S. universities, said this, and I quote, "Visiting America is not an entitlement. It is a privilege extended to those who respect our laws and values." Okay. And here's a U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services post on X. "Green cards and visas are a privilege reserved for those who make the U.S. better, not those who seek to destroy it from inside." And what is the latest thing we've heard from the Trump administration? Well, it's a false declaration about that whole privilege and not a right thing. The writ of habeas corpus, Latin for "you have the body," is actually a constitutional guarantee, okay, of due process for those who are imprisoned. But presidential, well, I'll call him potion maker, Stephen Miller, says the White House is considering this extreme measure, which almost certainly is illegal, with regard to taking away the whole writ of habeas corpus. The administration, nor Stephen Miller, uses the exact phrase privilege, not a right, yet the idea is definitely within the thoughts of the administration. That phrase is definitely buried within it. People deemed unworthy of being in the U.S. do not have a right to be here if we don't grant them the privilege. All I can think of every time I hear this nonsense is, all I can think of is a stern father, okay, lecturing a teenage child saying, you know what, going to prom is a privilege, not a right. So you better straighten up now. that fits because the entire milieu, if you will, of the Trump administration reeks of the strict father syndrome. Yeah. As you know, I've shared in other ways before, this is conservatism run amok. Okay? Whether in the family home or in the White House, privilege, not a right, is code language for control. It is. You better do what I say the way I want it, or I will keep you from doing what you want, because you know what? I have the power and control over you. Yeah. For every MAGA voter hearing this, and I know there aren't many of you listening, if any, I don't know. I'm not saying we need open borders, but that's a quick go-to generally for you guys. Any time there is mention of mercy and kindness and common sense and the Constitution, they're all about open borders. No one's talking open borders. This whole immigration thing is not this binary choice that it's made out to be. We can have secure borders. Yeah. If we have a process for welcoming, I'm thinking, and evaluating all who come to our borders. But Congress has constantly refused to fix our broken system. The answer is not to be more strict, but rather to be more orderly, heaven forbid, to be a bit humane, compassionate, empathetic. And there is nothing orderly or rational about the Trump's administration to deport them all. And that's a quote. That deport them all approach to immigration, to immigrants. Unless, of course, you're a white South African, then welcome to the U.S. But I digress. That's another message for another time. The Trump administration to immigration, it's really designed to create intentional chaos. It is. It's meant to strike fear and exert control. It's sort of like the insecure father who thinks he can only control his children by threatening them, which is pretty much the MO of this president. When children are constantly threatened with losing privileges, they learn to be untrusting of others. Okay? They learn to live in fear, which is exactly what strict fathers and, yes, mothers want. It's all about control. As others have more eloquently explained, much better than I can. I'm not any great speaker, that's for sure. You know that. But with MAGA, the cruelty really is the point. What the American people need to tell Trump, a lot of things, but what they need to tell Trump and Miller and the rest of their cadre is that governing is a privilege, not a right. You are elected to serve. Go figure. And are to be held accountable to the people. Imagine. And to be held accountable to the Constitution. And not to yourself. So I would say to those of you who are hearing this, pay attention to the words coming from the White House. All right? And then think of every abusive parent that you know. You'll be surprised by the parallels between the words of the White House and the words of abusive parents. And all I can say as I end this little ditty is this year you definitely, okay, do not want to ask the president to borrow his Tesla to go to prom. You don't want to go there. You take care of yourself. Be good to yourself. Be kind to others. God bless you. Peace be with you.